Hello, dear students. Myself, CMA Padmaja Buzruk. I will continue the topic accounting for shares and debentures. I will be discussing forfeiture of shares and reissue of forfeited shares. Module 1.1. So, I will discuss theory and examples on forfeiture of shares and reissue of forfeited shares. Let us first see what is forfeiture of shares. When a shareholder fails to pay calls, the company may forfeit the share. अगर शेयर होल्डर ने जो कॉल मनी ड्यू है, इट कैन बी अलॉटमेंट, कॉल मनी पे नहीं किया तो कंपनी उसके शेयर जब्त करती है, सीज करती है, दैट इज फॉरफीचर ऑफ शेयर्स. Share once forfeited become property of the company and may be sold on such terms as directors think fit. So when company forfeits the shares, seizes the shares, company जब shares जब्त करती है वो कंपनी की प्रॉपर्टी हो जाती है. And company can sell these shares on such terms as the directors think fit. Upon forfeiture, the original shareholder ceases to be a member. So when the company forfeits the shares, seizes the shares, जब्त करती है, तो जिस शेयर होल्डर से शेयर forfeiture किया होगा, जब्त किया होगा, he will no longer be shareholder or member of the company, and his name must be removed from register of members. Company ask shareholders to pay the amount on due dates. If he doesn't pay, company sends him reminder. But still, if he does not pay, then company seizes his shares. And the amount which is already received from him by the company is company's profit. Company won't return it back to him. This is known as forfeiture of shares. We'll see example. X company had forfeited 100 shares having face value rupees 10 for non-payment of first and final call of rupees 2 per share. Company has called entire face value. Face value is rupees 10. Company has called entire 10 rupees, but the shareholder has failed to pay fine first and final call 2 per share. So company has already received 800 on these forfeited shares. Out of 10, he has not paid 2. That means he has paid 8 rupees per share. 100 into 8, 800 company has received on these shares, which is company's profit, which is to be transferred to shares forfeited account. So what is the journal entry on this? Share capital account debit 1000. 100 shares company has forfeited into amount called up, which is 10. To calls in arrears account 200, amount not received on forfeited shares. To shares forfeited account, capital received on forfeited shares 800. जो नहीं मिला है वो आइदर कॉल्स एंड एरियर्स को जाएगा, इफ इट इज ट्रांसफर्ड टू कॉल्स एंड एरियर्स. जैसे कि अलॉटमेंट नहीं मिला है, उस टाइम वो कॉल्स एंड एरियर्स में डाला था, तो अभी फॉरफीचर के एंट्री में कॉल्स एंड एरियर्स को जाएगा, नहीं तो वो अलॉटमेंट में ही जाएगा. So when company issues share, share capital account is credited. When company forfeits share, exactly opposite, share capital account is to be debited. Reissue of forfeited shares. Forfeited shares may be reissued by company directors for any amount. But if such shares are issued at a discount, then the amount of discount should not exceed the actual amount received on forfeited shares. The purchaser of forfeited reissued shares is liable for payment of all future calls duly paid by the company. So company whatever shares it forfeits can reissue, again resell कर सकती है. These shares company can reissue forfeited shares either at par or at premium or at discount. So maximum discount कितना दे सकती है company? What is the maximum discount company can offer on reissue of these forfeited shares? That is the amount which it has already collected on the shares which it has forfeited from the earlier shareholder. Now supposing if company has not called the entire amount, 10 rupee की face value है, company has called only 8 rupees. 2 रुपए का final call बाकी है, company has not made final call. So the person who is purchasing these forfeited shares is liable for payment of the call when company makes it. We'll see one example. X company had forfeited 100 shares having face value rupees 10 for non-payment of first and final call rupees 2 per share. Company has called entire face value, that is rupees 10. Company has forfeited these shares for non-payment of first and final call. All these forfeited shares are reissued at 5 per share. Discount on reissue of forfeited shares is 500, which is to be transferred to shares forfeited account. See, company has reissued these 100 forfeited shares at 5. Compare face value with reissue price. Reissue price is lesser than face value. The difference is discount on reissue, which is 10 minus 5, which is 5 per share. So discount on 100 reissued shares is 100 into 5, which is 500, which is to be transferred to shares forfeited account. Journal entry: reissue of forfeited shares at discount. Bank account debit. Company has reissued 100 shares at 5, so it has received 500. Bank debit 500. What was the face value? 10. Company has called entire face value. So share capital is to be credited with 100 into 10, 1000, and discount on reissue to be transferred to shares forfeited account, 100 into 5. Discount on reissue of forfeited shares. Bank debit 500, shares forfeited account debit 500 to share capital 1000. Journal entry for transferring profit on reissue of forfeited shares. Shares forfeited account debit 300 to capital reserve 300. 800 minus 500. Just now we have seen company has reissued these forfeited share at discount. The discount is 500, and from original shareholder company has received 800, which has transferred to shares forfeited account. Shares forfeited account credit 800, shares forfeited account debit 500. So this difference is company's profit. It will get transferred to capital reserve. 800 minus 500 is 300. Shares forfeited account will get closed. Share forfeited account debit to capital reserve 300. Next is journal entry for forfeiture of shares issued at par. Company is forfeiting the shares which originally were issued at par. So entry is share capital account debit, number of shares forfeited multiplied by called up value per share, to calls in arrears account, amount not received on forfeited shares to shares forfeited account, capital received on forfeited shares. This is how the entry is to be passed on forfeiture of shares if originally they were issued at par. Journal entry for forfeiture of shares issued at premium, and premium money on forfeited shares is received by the company. Originally the shares were issued at premium and company has received premium amount. Then in that case, in your forfeiture entry, securities premium account won't feature. So your entry would be same like what we have passed earlier, share capital account debit to calls in arrears account to shares forfeited account. So when company has originally issued shares at premium and it has received premium money, you don't have to bother about premium. Same entry is to be passed as if company has issued it at par. But when company has forfeited the shares which are originally issued at premium and premium money on forfeited shares is not received by the company, then in this case securities premium account will feature in your forfeiture entry. Then your forfeiture entry would be share capital account debit, number of shares forfeited multiplied by called up value per share. Securities premium account debit if issued at premium and premium money not received. So this securities premium account is to be debited in forfeiture entry if and only if shares are issued at premium and premium is not received. To calls in arrears account, amount not received on forfeited shares to shares forfeited account, capital received on forfeited shares. So अगर कंपनी पार पे शेयर इशू करती है और वो फॉरफिट करती है तो शेयर कैपिटल अकाउंट डेबिट टू कॉल्स एंड अरेज टू शेयर्स फॉरफिटेड अकाउंट ऐसी एंट्री आएगी. अगर कंपनी प्रीमियम पे शेयर इशू करती है और प्रीमियम का पैसा मिलता है तो सेम एंट्री आएगी, शेयर कैपिटल अकाउंट डेबिट टू कॉल सिनेरियोस टू शेयर्स फॉरफिटेड अकाउंट। अगर कंपनी प्रीमियम पे शेयर इशू करती है लेकिन प्रीमियम का पैसा नहीं मिलेगा, in that case share capital debit securities premium debit to call scenarios to shares forfeited account, ऐसे एंट्री पास करनी पड़ेगी। Journal entry for reissue of forfeited shares at par. Company can reissue these forfeited shares. जो शेयर्स जब्त किए हैं, जो शेयर्स सीज किए हैं, वो अगेन सेल कर सकती है, उसी दैट इज रीइशू। पार पे रीइशू किया, बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट टू शेयर कैपिटल, नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स रीइशूड मल्टीप्लाइड बाय par value which is received. Journal entry for reissue of forfeited shares at discount, bank account debit, shares forfeited account debit to share capital account. Bank account debit में क्या आएगा? What would you suppose to write here? Number of shares reissued, कितने shares reissue किए हैं multiplied by reissue price, कितने पे किया है वो आएगा। अगर डिस्काउंट पे रीइशू किया होगा तो डिस्काउंट की जो अमाउंट है वो शेयर्स फॉरफिटेड अकाउंट में आएगी, नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स मल्टीप्लाइड बाय फर्दर डिस्काउंट ऑन रीइशू। यहाँ पे क्या आएगा? एक्चुअल जो शेयर की प्राइस थी, फेस वैल्यू थी, माइनस जिस पे रीइशू किया है वही डिस्काउंट आएगा, टू शेयर कैपिटल नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स रीइशूड मल्टीप्लाइड बाय पेड अप वैल्यू पर शेयर। Journal entry for reissue of forfeited shares at premium, bank account debit, number of shares reissued into reissue price. To share capital, number of shares reissued into par value. To securities premium if reissued at premium. That is face value से ज़्यादा प्राइस पे रीइशू किया होगा, सो ओवर एंड अबव जो फेस वैल्यू से ज़्यादा अमाउंट होगी वो कहाँ पे जाएगी? सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम अकाउंट। Journal entry for transferring profit on reissue of forfeited shares. Reissue किया forfeited shares, तो entire shares जितने forfeit किए पूरे के पूरे reissue किए, तो एंट्री आएगी shares forfeited account debit to capital reserve. Profit on forfeiture minus further discount on reissue of forfeited shares. We have seen one example. We have done the entry 800 minus 500, 300. Same journal entry. When all forfeited shares are not reissued, not issued, company forfeits shares and out of that only few shares it will reissue. All shares it will not reissue. So we'll just go through it. When all forfeited shares are not issued, then it is desirable to spread the amount of such forfeited account on all such forfeited shares and the amount relating to that part of forfeited shares which has been reissued. Discount on reissue of shares should be deducted from such amount and the balance is transferred to capital reserve being capital profit. The amount relating to that part of shares forfeited account which has not been reissued should be shown on the liability side of the balance sheet as shares forfeited account. So supposing company has forfeited 100 shares but reissued only 50 shares. So अभी हम क्या करेंगे? जो forfeited shares का reissue नहीं हुआ है, उससे जो कंपनी को पैसा मिला है विच हैज़ गॉन टू शेयर्स फॉरफिटेड अकाउंट, उसका बैलेंस आपको दिखाना पड़ेगा। अमाउंट रिलेटिंग टू दैट पार्ट ऑफ फॉरफिटेड अकाउंट विच हैज़ नॉट बीन रीइशूड, कंपनी ने फॉरफिट किया है, रीइशू नहीं किया है, तो जो फॉरफिट किया है उस फॉरफिटेड शेयर्स पे जो पैसा मिला है वो दिखाना पड़ेगा। कहाँ पे दिखाएंगे? शुड बी शोन ऑन द लायबिलिटीज ऑफ द बैलेंस शीट एज शेयर्स फॉरफिटेड अकाउंट। और ये जो आप अभी कैपिटल रिजर्व में ट्रांसफ़र करोगे कैपिटल प्रॉफिट, वो प्रोपोर्शनेट अमाउंट ही जाएगी। जितने शेयर्स रीइशू किए हैं उतना ही प्रॉफिट आपको ट्रांसफ़र करना पड़ेगा कैपिटल रिजर्व में। यहाँ पे देख लो विच कैसे ट्रांसफ़र करोगे, विच पार्ट यू आर सपोज टू ट्रांसफ़र। इफ पार्ट ऑफ द फॉरफिटेड शेयर्स आर रीइशूड देन profit shall have to be calculated proportionately. Profit on reissue of forfeited shares. Total profit on forfeiture of shares divided by number of shares forfeited multiplied by number of shares reissued. निकालेंगे, उसमें से माइनस करेंगे डिस्काउंट ऑन रीइश्यू ऑफ फॉरफिटेड शेयर्स एंड जो बचेगा दैट इज टू बी ट्रांसफर्ड टू कैपिटल रिजर्व. सपोजिंग 100 शेयर्स फॉरफिट किए, उससे मिले हैं 800. सो 100 शेयर्स पे 800 मिला था. 800 डिवाइडेड बाय 100, 8 पर शेयर कंपनी हैज रिसीव्ड. उसमें से 50 ही रीइश्यू किए. 50 इंटू 8 कितना हुआ? 400. 8 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 50 यहाँ पे आएगा. और जो री इशू पे डिस्काउंट आएगा वो उसमें से होगा माइनस एंड बैलेंस विल गेट ट्रांसफर्ड टू कैपिटल रिजर्व. Example we'll see so that it will be clear to you. X company had forfeited 100 shares having face value rupees 10 for non-payment of first and final call of 2 per share. Company has called entire face value. Company has forfeited these shares for non-payment of first and final call. 50 of these forfeited shares are reissued at 5 per share. 100 shares forfeit किए हैं, उस पर 2 रुपीज़ नहीं मिले हैं, 8 रुपये मिले हैं. कंपनी ने पूरे 10 रुपये कॉल किए हैं. कंपनी ने पूरे के पूरे 100 शेयर्स फॉरफिट किए हैं, लेकिन उसमें से सिर्फ 50 ही रीइशू किया है एट 5 पर शेयर. नाउ विल सी हाउ टू पास जर्नल एंट्री. जर्नल एंट्री ऑन फॉरफीचर ऑफ 100 शेयर्स. 100 शेयर्स फॉरफिट किए. शेयर कैपिटल अकाउंट डेबिट 100 shares are forfeited. Amount called up is 10. Share capital debit 1000. To call scenarios 200. Amount not received on forfeited shares. First and final call का 2 रुपये नहीं मिला है, वो call scenario को जाएगा. 100 into 2. 2 shares forfeited account. It is received. 100 into 8. Capital received on forfeited shares. Has company reissued all the 100 forfeited shares? No, it has reissued only 50 shares. बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट 50 into 5. It has reissued it at 5. 10 रुपये की फेस वैल्यू है. It has reissued at 5. So discount is 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. So discount will go to shares forfeited account. Shares forfeited account debit 250. 50 into 5 to share capital 50 into 10. Now see here, forfeited shares account में जो 800 क्रेडिट आया है, it is for 100 shares. सो 50 शेयर्स का क्रेडिट कितना होगा? 400. 400 क्रेडिट, 250 डेबिट 50 शेयर्स का ही है. सो 400 माइनस 250, 150 विल गेट ट्रांसफर्ड टू कैपिटल रिजर्व. Journal entry for transferring profit on reissue of forfeited shares. Shares forfeited account debit to capital reserve. 150, 400 minus 250. 800 कंपनी हैज रिसीव्ड ऑन 100 शेयर्स, लेकिन 100 शेयर्स जो फॉरफिट किए थे उस पे 800 मिला था, लेकिन रीइशू कितना किया? सिर्फ 50. सो 100 शेयर्स पे 800, 50 शेयर्स पे 400. डिस्काउंट कितना? 250. दे हैव रीइशूड एट 5. सो बैलेंस 150 इज कंपनीज प्रॉफिट. इट विल गेट ट्रांसफर्ड टू कैपिटल रिजर्व. सो ये जो 800 में से 400 माइनस 250 हमने किया, दैट इज फॉर 50 शेयर्स. 50 शेयर्स विच कंपनी हैज नॉट रीइश्यूड, उस पे 400 बैलेंस है, वो कंपनी को लायबिलिटी साइड ऑफ द बैलेंस शीट में दिखाना पड़ेगा. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट forfeiture of shares and reissue of forfeited shares. Thank you.